Hamy, survive 100 days trapped, win $500,000. Hamy's eyes fluttered open to a dimly lit room with smooth, concrete walls. The air smelled sterile, almost too clean. A single camera was mounted in the top corner, its red light blinking ominously. There were no windows, no doors, just a small metallic hatch embedded in one of the walls. The silence was deafening. Then, a voice crackled through a hidden speaker. "Welcome, Hamy. You have been selected for a unique challenge. Survive here for 100 days, and you will be rewarded with $500,000. However, any attempt to escape will result in immediate disqualification and consequences." Hamy's heart pounded. Where was she? How did she get here? The last thing she remembered was falling asleep in her apartment. Now, she was in a sealed chamber with no clue how or why. She scanned the room. In the corner, there was a bed, a simple, thin mattress on a metal frame. A bucket, presumably for hygiene purposes, sat beside it. There was a small vent near the ceiling, barely big enough for a hand to fit through. Other than that, the only notable feature was the hatch, which suddenly clicked and slid open, revealing a small tray with a bottle of water and a nutrition bar. Day 1 had begun. The first week, routine and realization. The first few days were relatively easy. Hamy rationed her food, drank water sparingly, and spent time pacing to keep herself from going insane. There was no clock, no way to tell time apart from her own sleep cycle. The only interaction she had was the mechanical delivery of food twice a day. She tried talking to the camera. "Who are you? Why am I here?" No response. She tried banging on the walls. Solid. No hidden doors. No way out. By the 7th day, she started feeling the weight of solitude. The silence became oppressive. Every small sound, her own breathing, the rustle of fabric as she shifted in bed, the soft click of the food hatch, became magnified. And then came the first psychological trick. One night, as she lay in bed, the lights suddenly went off. Pitch black. Then, whispers. Faint, almost imperceptible voices. They didn't make sense at first, just murmurs in the darkness. Hamy sat up, heart racing. "Who's there?" No answer. The whispers continued. Then laughter. Childlike, eerie laughter. She covered her ears. When the lights flickered back on, her tray of food was gone. No replacement was given. They were testing her. The first month. Mind games. As the days stretched into weeks, the room itself seemed to turn against her. Sometimes, the water tasted strange. Other times, the food was swapped. One day, the usual nutrition bar, the next, a completely unidentifiable substance. She tried refusing to eat, but hunger gnawed at her resolve. Sleep deprivation became another enemy. The lights would switch on and off randomly. At times, a loud screeching noise would blare for hours. Other times, everything was too quiet. Hamy lost track of time. One day, the whispers turned into voices she recognized, her mother, her best friend, even her own voice. "Hamy, you're running out of time. Hamy, why did you leave us?" She knew it wasn't real. It was all part of the experiment. But knowing didn't make it any easier. By day 40, or what she assumed was day 40, she stopped talking to the camera. She stopped begging for answers. She had to focus. "They want me to break. But I won't." Day 50. The choice. Then, on what she believed to be the 50th day, something changed. The hatch didn't open. No food. No water. The vent stopped working. The air grew stale. Hours passed. Then, a new sound, the whirring of machinery. A portion of the wall slid open. For the first time in weeks, Hamy saw something beyond her prison. A corridor, dimly lit. And at the end of it, a door. Freedom. A voice spoke through the speaker. "You have a choice, Hamy. Walk through that door, and you will leave this place. But you forfeit the $500,000. Stay, and continue the challenge. Choose wisely." Hamy stood frozen. She had been desperate to escape. But now, the possibility felt like a trap. Why now? Was this part of the experiment? She hesitated, stepping toward the door. But then she noticed something small, almost insignificant. The camera. It was no longer pointed at her. For the first time, they weren't watching. Or at least, they wanted her to think they weren't. She backed away, sat on the floor, and waited. An hour passed. The door slid shut. A minute later, the hatch opened. Food, water. She had made the right choice. The final days. Breaking the game. By day 80, Hamy had adapted. She counted her breathing cycles, meditated through the psychological torment, and focused on one thing, surviving. But something was changing. The room itself was changing. The bed moved slightly one night, as if the walls had shifted. The vent emitted strange gas for a few minutes before stopping. They were increasing the difficulty. But Hamy wasn't afraid anymore. On day 90, she made a discovery. The small metal tray from her food hatch. She had never thought about it before. But after scratching it against the wall repeatedly, she realized it could be sharpened. A tool. She began working on the vent. Day 95, the vent cover came loose. She waited until the food arrived. As soon as the hatch clicked open, she shoved the tray into the opening, jamming the mechanism. The voice spoke. "Hamy, what are you doing?" For the first time, she responded. "Winning." She climbed through the vent. The passage was narrow, but she pushed forward. It led to a maintenance shaft. There were no alarms. Either they hadn't expected this, or they wanted her to escape now. She reached a metal door. Locked, but she had the sharpened tray. It took time, but she picked the lock. The door opened. She stepped into a brightly lit hallway. Rows of rooms, just like hers. She wasn't the only one. Footsteps echoed in the distance. Hamy ran. A final door. She pushed it open and stumbled into daylight. Fresh air. The sun on her face. And then, sirens. Voices. A group of people in suits surrounded her. One stepped forward. "Congratulations, Hamy. You survived 100 days. She blinked. "What? Did you really think you escaped? No one ever leaves before the challenge ends. But you did well. Your money will be transferred soon." She looked around. Cameras. Dozens of them. It had all been part of the game. Hamy laughed. A dry, exhausted laugh. They thought they had won. But Hamy knew the truth. She had survived their game. But now, they were in her world. And she wasn't done playing yet.